Welcome to Candidate Conversations, part of Delaware Debates 2014, produced by Delaware Public Media in collaboration with the University of Delaware's Center for Political Communication. I'm Delaware Public Media News Director Tom Byrne. This conversation, taped on the campus of Delaware State University, focuses on the race for State Auditor, and we are joined by Democrat Ken Matlusky. Thanks, Ken, for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Tom. I'm glad to be here.
And we'll start with the basic question, which is, why did you decide to run for State Auditor? This is your second go-round.
Right. Yes, I ran for auditor 4 years ago, and I came pretty close. I got 46% in the Democratic primary, and I hope to improve on that and win it this time. The basic reason I'm running for auditor is I'm a Delaware certified public accountant, and I'd like to make the auditor's office the most respected and prestigious office in the state of Delaware.
And in your background, in your experience, what do you feel separates you from the other candidates running?
One thing, I'm the only CPA running for the auditor's race. I've worked in the CPA profession. I've worked in the, as an accountant in the mechanical contracting profession, in the legal profession. I worked for a trust company, and I even worked as a middle school math teacher up at St. Helena's in Wilmington.
Issue-wise, let's talk a little bit about your priorities and vision for the office. You mentioned you want to make it the most respected office. Yes. How do you do that?
The first thing is, the first thing I promise to do is I promise to never, ever, ever, ever spend a single penny of taxpayer money on out-of-state travel. There's an issue we know with another office about that, but if you're going to be auditing and passing judgment on other offices, you have to be as clean as a hound's tooth. So that's the very first thing. Another thing is there's an issue. Whistleblowers really, we have a Delaware whistleblower law, but whistleblowers really aren't protected in Delaware. We have, for instance, a few years back, a huge issue was where whistleblowers were treated badly and abused for reporting problems over at the Delaware Psychiatric Center. And we also, and more recently, we also had the NKS deal where the former governor basically gave land to NKS for pennies on the dollar. And my contention is a lot of people in the state knew what was going on while the deal was going on, but they were afraid to come forward and report the problem. And my opinion is that an abuse of a state employee is essentially the abuse of taxpayer dollars, and that's something the Delaware State Auditor needs to 100% definitely be involved in. And I really think that if state employees know that they'll be protected when they blow the whistle, then we can stop these problems early on before they grow into huge Sunday morning stories in the Wilmington News Journal.
Because of the nature of the work, should the office work maybe a little bit harder to distance itself from politics and party ties? And if so, how do you do that? Unfortunately, I don't think as in the school board elections are nonpartisan, but people know that they really are partisan. Mm-hmm. But you really could not make, I don't think it would be practical to make it a nonpartisan race. But basically what I'm doing is I'm running as a 100% complete outsider, mm-hmm. who doesn't owe anybody anything. So I'm offering the taxpayers a completely independent voice who's not beholden to anybody. So when you have somebody like myself, I guess you could say I'm trying to take the politics out of it. Fair enough. Does the work of the auditor's office need to be more visible, in your opinion, to the public? Actually, that's an interesting question. I think a lot of problems could be solved, can be solved quietly if people, some state agencies are making some legitimate mistakes, honest mistakes. You can handle things quietly without going to, exposing it in the paper and embarrassing a bunch of good people. But if somebody's doing something, really, really bad, like, you're stealing $1.5 million from the state of Delaware, guess what? That's not. You can't work with that. The person's going to jail, and it's going to make the News Journal. What do you feel the appropriate role for the state auditor is in influencing state policy in areas beyond just accountability for state finances? Is there a role for the auditor in that regard?
One issue related to that is actually a Representative John Kowalko. He is big on having a having Delaware have an Inspector General's office, but I don't think most of the other, a lot of the other reps aren't interested in that. And I really don't think you need an Inspector General's office, because the Auditor's office has the investigatory, powers already. But if there's a power that the Inspector General has, that the State Auditor has, the legislature could easily pass it and sign it with a stroke of their pen. So.
And finally, is there an issue at this point, or an area you feel needs more scrutiny, needs to be investigated as you look at the playing field now?
Nothing really in particular. I think the State Auditor's office could be a little bit more proactive, or even some might say a lot more proactive with certain issues. A few years back, the finance director down at the Laurel School District, he stole $150,000 over a 5-year period, so that's $30,000 a year, and that was left unchecked for 5 years. And I've said at various forums, I said a simple way to solve a problem like that is you go in, you look at the person's employment contract, and then you compare it with the payroll register, and if you see a $30,000 discrepancy, a light goes off in your head, and you say, bingo, I'm going to go and investigate that problem. So that's just one little example about how the Auditor's office could be more proactive in stopping some of these issues before it festers into a big news journal expose. All
right, Ken Matlusky, Democratic candidate for State Auditor. We thank you for joining us, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Tom. I really appreciated talking to you.
You can find all of our conversations online at DelawarePublicMedia.org and DelawareDebates.org. Candidate conversations are taped here at Delaware State University and are part of Delaware Debates 2014, produced by Delaware Public Media in collaboration with the University of Delaware's Center for Political Communication. I'm Delaware Public Media News Director Tom Byrne. Thanks so much for watching.